Imagine standing alone on a dusty platform in the middle of nowhere, your wedding dress torn and stained from a long, hopeless journey, tears blurring the endless horizon as you realize you've been abandoned, left at the wrong station by a man who promised forever. What if in that moment of utter despair, a stranger's kindness became the miracle you never saw coming? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Western Tales of Frontier and leave a like and comment if this story touches your heart. The sun hung low over the Wyoming plains like a weary traveler, casting long shadows across the rickety train station. In the forgotten town of Elk Ridge, it was 1892, and the air carried the faint scent of sagebrush and distant rain. Amelia Harper clutched her small carpet bag, her once white wedding gown now a faded gray from the dust of 3 days on the rails. She was 22 with freckles across her nose, and eyes that had seen too much hardship for someone so young. Back in Chicago, she'd answered a newspaper ad from a man named Elias Grant, a homesteader out west who promised a simple life and a loving home. She'd sold her few belongings, boarded the train with dreams of escape from the factory drudgery, only to find herself at the wrong stop, miles from where Elias was supposed to meet her. The conductor had shrugged, saying mix UPS happened, and the train chugged away without her. Now as the platform emptied, panic set in. No money for another ticket, no food, and night falling fast. She sank onto a splintered bench, burying her face in her hands, sobs shaking her slender frame. "What have I done?" she whispered to the wind. Passers-by glanced but hurried on. Folks in these parts had their own troubles, all except for one man and a little girl, stepping off a private coach at the far end of the station. Jedediah Thorne was a name whispered in saloons. From Denver to Cheyenne, a self-made millionaire cowboy. He'd struck gold in the cattle business after years of scraping by as a ranch hand. Tall and weathered, with a salt and pepper beard and eyes like storm clouds, he wore a Stetson, pulled low in a coat that hid the scars of a hard life. Beside him skipped his 7-year-old daughter, Lila, her braids bouncing like golden ropes, clutching a worn Bible to her chest. Lila's mother, Jed's beloved Sarah, had died 2 years back from fever, leaving a void that no amount of wealth could fill. Jed had poured himself into the ranch, but Lila, she prayed every night for God to send them someone, to make their family whole again. "Papa, look." Lila tugged at his sleeve, her voice a soft melody amid the creaking wood and distant coyote calls. She pointed to Amelia huddled like a lost bird. Jed paused, his boots scuffing the dirt. He'd seen plenty of down-on-their-luck folks in his time, drifters, widows, orphans. But something about this young woman in a wedding dress stirred him. Maybe it was the way she reminded him of Sarah on their wedding day, full of hope before the world wore it thin. "We can't just leave her, Papa," Lila insisted, her big blue eyes pleading. "Remember what we prayed for last night? For God to show us a way to help. Someone like Mama used to say, kindness is the rope that pulls us all out of the dark." Jed sighed, rubbing his jaw. He wasn't one for sentiment. Life on the frontier had taught him caution. But Lila's words hit home. They'd been on this trip to Cheyenne for business, and on the ride she'd chatted about missing a mother's touch, someone to braid her hair, tell stories by the fire. Jed had dismissed it as childish fancy, but now he approached slowly, his spurs jingling softly. "Ma'am, you all right?" His voice was gruff but kind, like thunder wrapped in velvet. Amelia looked up startled, wiping her tears with a soiled sleeve. "I'm fine, sir." "Just a mistake, wrong station." Jed nodded, glancing at the empty tracks. "Trains don't come back till morning." "Name's Jed Thorne, this. Here's my daughter, Lila." The girl beamed, stepping forward. "You look like a princess, even if you're sad." "What's your name, Amelia?" She replied, a faint smile breaking through. Despite everything, there was something pure in Lila's gaze, untainted by the world's cruelties. Jed cleared his throat. "You got folks nearby?" A husband waiting. Amelia's face crumpled. "Supposed to, but I think he ain't coming. Wrong place. Or maybe he changed his mind." She didn't mention the letters from Elias that had grown sparse, or the doubt that had nodded at her during the journey. Lila gasped, "Papa, she can't stay here alone. It's not safe." "Remember the stories about wolves and bandits?" Jed hesitated, then extended a hand. "Our ranch is a few miles out. Got a guest room, you can stay the night. Get sorted in the morn, no strings." Amelia shook her head. "I couldn't impose." "You've no idea who I am." "Doesn't matter," Jed said firmly. "Out here we look after our own, even if they're strangers." First, something in his eyes, a quiet strength perhaps, made her nod. She stood shaky but grateful, and they led her to their wagon, hitched with sturdy horses. As they rode through the twilight, Lila chattered nonstop, pointing out stars emerging like diamonds. Mama used to say the sky's God's blanket keeping us warm. Amelia felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. Back home, kindness was rare. Survival meant keeping to yourself. But here, with the vast plains rolling by, she opened up a bit about her pa dying young, her ma working herself to death in the mills, her own dreams of a fresh start at the Thorn Ranch. A sprawling spread with corrals full of lowing cattle, and a big log house glowing with lantern light. Amelia was met with more surprises. The housekeeper, an older woman named Mrs. Ellis, clucked like a hen and bustled her into a warm bath. Then a simple dress from Sarah's old trunk. "Fits like it was made for you," Mrs. Ellis said with a wink. Over supper steak, biscuits and fresh milk. Jed listened as Amelia shared more. Lila hung on every word, her little hand slipping into Amelia's. "You tell stories just like Mama," she whispered that night. As Amelia lay in the soft bed staring at the ceiling beams, she wondered if this was fate or folly. Morning came with the rooster's crow, and Jed offered to drive her to the right station. But as they prepared to leave, a storm rolled in, dark clouds unleashing a torrent that turned the roads to mud. "Looks like you're stuck a spell," Jed said, not unhappily. Over the next days, Amelia pitched in, helping with chores, teaching Lila to sew, even baking pies from wild berries. She had a gentle way mending not just fabric, but the frayed edges of their lives. Jed found himself lingering at the table, sharing tales of his youth, how he derived penniless, built everything from nothing. Wealth don't mean much without people to share it, he admitted one evening by the fire. Lila, ever the spark, confided in Amelia about her prayers. "I asked God for a new mama, not to replace mine, but to love us like she did." Amelia's heart ached. She'd never imagined family like this. But doubts crept in. Was she imposing? One afternoon, as the rain cleared, she packed her bag. "I should go." "You've been too kind," Jed found her by the door. "Amelia, wait. Truth is, we've been praying too. Lila's right, we need someone, and you fit here. Stay not as a guest, but as family." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I'm nobody, poor as dirt." He took her hand, calloused from work. "But warm kindness ain't about what you have. It's about what you give. You've given us hope again." Just then Lila burst in. "Eyes wide, Papa. The rainbow, it's God's promise." She pointed outside where a vibrant arc stretched across the sky. Pulling them both close, she whispered, "Papa." God answered us in that moment. Amelia knew she was home. Months turned to years. She and Jed married in a simple ceremony under that same sky. With Lila as flower girl, the ranch thrived. But more than cattle or gold, it was their bond that grew, rooted in that chance meeting at the wrong station. Life on the frontier was never easy. Droughts came, calves were lost, but through it all they held fast. Amelia became the mother Lila needed, teaching her strength and grace. Jed found joy he'd thought buried with Sarah, and folks in Elk Ridge still tell the tale. How a poor bride's misfortune became a millionaire's miracle, proving that true wealth lies in open hearts. If there's a lesson here, it's this. In our darkest hours, when we're stranded and alone, kindness from a stranger can rewrite our story. It reminds us that God or fate or whatever you believe works through ordinary people. So next time you see someone in need, reach out. You might just be the answer to their prayer and yours.